Welcome, everybody. It's your boy T-Dab Roy.
And Chaka Burnett.
And we are your host for Beauty and Beard. We have a special edition. Lord have mercy. We got a special podcast today.
There you go.
And we are super duper excited. This is our first time bringing on guests. And we're going to introduce them right now. To my left, y'all's right, I'm not sure how y'all looking at it on the screen, are the McDonald's. If y'all don't mind, please introducing yourselves.
Hi, guys. We are the McDonald's. I am Roy without the T. And here is my bride.
And I am Britnie McDonald.
Britnie McDonald. Now, serious up, their names are the McDonald's. We're not trying to be funny like McDonald's or anything. But it is McDonald's.
There it is. Well, when you add the S.
McDonald's.
McDonald.
Got
but then
you.
there are multiple of us, so now it's McDonald's. There you go.
I got you. So we have the McDonald's here on our podcast for a reason, because they do have a story to tell, and we're going to unravel that story today. And one of the things that we want to unveil is that marriage is work.
Yeah.
It is work, and it does take us. It does take a lot of trying, a lot of effort. You know, the saying used to be, marriage is a 50-50. No, marriage might be 1,000 a piece, percentage wise, because it's always going the extra mile for. It's funny. Sorry, we're Christians. I don't apologize for that, but one of the things that is spoken of in the scriptures is like going the extra mile for your neighbor.
Yeah.
And then they ask you like, well, who is my neighbor? Well, your wife should definitely be your neighbor. Your spouse should definitely be one of them. And for those times I've never went the extra mile, I do apologize. I'm sorry.
You're forgiven.
That was a camera forgiveness. She doesn't really forgive me.
That's funny. Is that the moment?
That's that period at the end
There
of the
you go.
sentence.
So the McDonald's decided to sit down with us today and share some of their story. So before we get into the story, then let's get to know them a little bit more. So the question is, where are y'all from?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with Britnie first, because we share something in common.
We do.
See how she clapped? My God, I don't know what just happened.
I am from the
The
276.
276 up in here.
Nobody
where I'm
knows the area
from.
code
Thanks,
except
First
for
of
people
all,
from there.
you
I leaned
should
into the
know where
mic
it
just to
is.
communicate that.
If you don't know, you better ask somebody.
Wow. Yes.
But yes, I am from 276, which is Southern Virginia, really close to North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically grew up in Fieldale/Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm from, the country.
From the country.
Country.
So I'm from Martinsville too, 276.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why me and Britnie got a connection, which is funny because I didn't get to know you until we left and came to Harrisonburg.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. We lived in the same city our whole lives and didn't get to meet each other until college.
I knew Troy.
But
Everybody
you knew me?
Everybody knew Troy.
That's
Knew
what
me?
Chaka was saying. There you go.
Was that like a bad no?
It's okay. This is not
We're gonna
exposed.
cut
Troy.
that out. We're gonna cut that out. Now, you did know my cousins.
Yes.
You knew Eric
Eric and Chris.
and Chris.
Yep.
Yeah, you did know them. So, I mean, what was your family dynamic? Did you grow up in a household with both parents?
Well, ish. So I did have a mother and a father in the home. It was my stepfather. Growing up, my mom. Yes. So yeah, I think my mom divorced from my biological father when I was 3. I think I was 3. I don't
Now, you the
remember.
oldest?
No, I am the second oldest. So I have an older sister.
Okay.
And then it's me by my mom. And then I have a lot of siblings that we have the same biological dad. But yeah, I think when I was 6 is when my mom and my stepfather got married. So yeah, that was our dynamic. Yeah.
That's what's up. Now, Roy, I would noticed a little accent in your dialect.
There you go.
Where's this accent from?
That's I don't know. I don't know what just happened. She's okay. I was born in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and since then lived in several different places. But believe it or not, the longest place I've lived, I'm ashamed to say it. Maybe I'm not. Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg,
That's
Virginia.
crazy. I lived in maybe 5 or so different countries. Went to middle and high school in Richmond, Virginia. Came to Harrisonburg for college, and found the peace of this place, like home. So I stayed.
That's what's up.
There we go.
Wow.
So you're from Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone. Sierra like the girl, Leone like the animal, lion.
You can say like Miss. It ain't gotta
okay.
be like the girl.
See,
Sierra.
that's a different podcast.
Sierra Leone. What was your family dynamic like?
Grew up in the home with both mom and dad. I'm the middle child. I have a younger sister and an older brother. We were together for most of growing up, and then when I was I think 9 or so, my older brother was sent to live in the States. So it was my sister and I growing up during those years while we were traveling different countries. We reunited with my older brother in middle school. So there was 4.5 years in between where he wasn't with the core family, but we were back together.
And this is before FaceTime.
All that. Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah, so there was a while there actually where he was uncertain at the height of the war in Sierra Leone. He was uncertain that we were alive. So there was about 2 years there where he was unsure of where we were. Yeah.
Wow.
And you're alive.
And we were alive, and we were united.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that.
There we go.
It's pretty awesome. So how long have you guys been married? What is a little bit of your origin story? How did you meet?
Britnie saw me walking down the campus.
Yes.
That's not at all how it happened, actually. Who's telling the story? Are you going to tell the story?
It depends. It's a different story. Depends on who tells it.
Okay.
Isn't it though?
You tell the
It's a
story
very
first.
different
Because
and then
I always tell the right
There
story.
you go.
Chaka tells
I'm going to
the
let
wrong
Britney
one.
go first, and then I'm going to correct every error on that and then make sure we're on the right standing.
Roy always feels insulted when I tell this story, but I'm like, I don't mean.
Go ahead and
in
tell
a
the
bad
story, and I'm going
way.
to correct it.
So I often get the question. I feel like every time we meet somebody new, they're like, "Oh my gosh, so how did you guys meet? When was the first time you saw each other?" And I'm like, I really don't know. The first time I saw
So
Roy,
the
it
reason
was
why that's offensive, it
not
sounds like
necessarily-
I didn't stand out to her when I met her. Like I was just another person. Like what
Yeah.
you mean?
Listen,
Oh, he was.
so
Oh my
Wow.
Oh my God. You see what I'm saying, Troy? It's offensive at some level.
I did not know
it
this.
was like irrelevant.
Thank
Like it
you.
wasn't like a.
You don't meet for the purpose. At least I didn't, and I'm assuming
You saw me and you were starstruck.
No, I think you don't.
Don't even
necessarily
act like that.
The
I don't think
276
people.
coming
I
out.
don't think most people meet and say that's the person I'm going to be in a relationship. That's the
Right.
person
That's fine,
I'm
but you
going
at
to
least
marry.
want it, you want
Whatever.
it to be memorable. I think you
Right.
know if you end up spending the rest of your life with someone, you
But nobody knew that.
I don't know.
Now,
You know,
look,
take
when I-
me. Do you remember when you first saw her?
When I first met Chaka, we was hanging out together, and I remember going to we were leaving, and we were all like I was in my friend's I was in Chris's truck,
See?
and she was leaving in her truck, and we were talking when the cars what's the glass part in between the car and the car door
The mirror?
the window.
window.
Lord have mercy.
Say, I was thinking partition.
I haven't eaten today,
Beyonce.
so
That's
let's not hold me accountable for words that I should be knowing. But I saw Chaka. She drove off, and I looked at Chris. I was like, man, she gonna marry somebody rich and famous one day. It's probably gonna be a football player or something like that. And she got me.
Rich and famous and a football player.
And see, okay,
At some point.
so
I spoke it into
no.
There you go.
So the reason why I agree with Britnie though is because he actually the first time we saw each other was probably at church.
Yes.
And so the thing is, he's mentioning the first time he actually noticed me as
That's
opposed to the
different.
first time we met. Exactly. And so that's why I told him I don't really remember the first time I noticed him or met him. I know it was in the church setting. but I met so many people. It was also the beginning of the school year,
Right.
so a lot of people came in. He didn't stand out in that way to me as someone different until we got to know each other.
Yeah.
So I agree.
So I think part of the reason why meeting Britney stood out to me because she came in.
Because I'm amazing.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I agree. I saw and I did it. I took a couple of looks and I was like, afterwards I was like, I shouldn't have looked that long. Okay. But Britney was a you started school your second semester, and so she was new on campus and you were meeting a lot of people. So to your credit. Perhaps you had met a whole lot of people that day, but I do think an interaction like the one we had should be memorable. I'm just kidding. Wasn't that memorable?
So wait.
What kind of interaction?
So you said something about her starting school late. Is there an age difference between y'all two?
Not much.
I'm older. I'm grown.
Oh my gosh.
Why should
We're
be
a
like
year
3 months?
different.
Oh,
It's
a year.
a year different. But I started school the second semester of what would have been my freshman year,
Okay.
because I was in the military, and so I was at basic training.
Military hut too, choo choo.
That's funny.
But I did Army National Guard for 6 years, but my basic training and my AIT job training was what would have been my first semester of my freshman year. And so I started in January 2007. But I had enough credits from high school to come in as a sophomore. And so that was helpful.
Oh,
But
so you didn't skip a beat when you came to school then,
I'm
right?
just right on to it.
She had like what 42 credit hours.
I think it was like 29.
Okay,
But
all right, 29.
thank
I
you for
had
the extra.
0 point.
I have
5.
no experience.
Yeah, Brittany, I always forget you were in the military. Thank you for your service. I have a place for military, being an Army brat myself. So, and seeing everything that like my family and others had to go through. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Chaka was ROTC when she went to college, which I hate because when we wrestle, she actually knows wrestling moves. And she's pretty daggone strong, too, at the same time. So it's
Called 5 a.m. defense courses.
Wow. Okay.
and it's very funny because she comes off very like, very ladylike, stuff like that. But it's been sometimes I've been scared.
This
to
is
be
on
at the
camera.
house. This is on
camera.
This is on camera. So if I come up missing one day,
Oh, with a black eye to work.
I know. So you guys met in college.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the progression of that after you met or noticed each other
Right.
or had attention?
Whichever. She did not notice me. I noticed her. Which is fine.
We didn't date at all, like during college, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. I'm like, we were in friend groups that were the same,
yeah.
but it was like, oh, that's Roy, and I'm sure it was like, oh, that's Brittany. There wasn't like this secret love brewing in the back or this crush that wasn't talked about. It wasn't a thought. I didn't think anyway. It was so even once we started hanging out post college, people were like, Roy and Britnie, like it was awkward because we were opposites, like complete opposites. So yeah.
And we still remain opposites. I think that's why it was so shocking for most people and even for us. I think I noticed you because God has made you beautiful. But I think because of that, I was like, I'm not gonna notice her again. But it was after we both had walked, because I did a victory lap. I told you I'm older than her, but I spent a lot more time in college. Read a few more books. Yeah, just a few more.
Just a couple.
And so we had walked in May and had a Maymaster class to take. She had one Maymaster class to take. I had 3. And they were.
Roy, what was you doing in college?
I don't know what I was doing. I didn't read enough, apparently.
I only met Troy because I didn't graduate on time.
There you go.
I
So
can't
there
talk.
it is. I was taking a Maymaster and June Master. She was taking a Maymaster. And then
Before that, though, I think so. We have good friends of ours that were dating for a while, Sam and Jarrell, and we all went on a group trip to Disney World. And Jarrell's family had a house down there, and so we, me and Siobhan, a friend of ours, and Jarrell all stayed at her parents' house, and then Sam and Roy and somebody else was someone else come down for a while?
I don't know. I think it was me, Sam and I.
But anyway, we were all in Florida at the same time, and so we got to spend time together in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know why that's so funny.
And
Britney.
then when we came back to Harrisonburg, all of our friends were gone from Harrisonburg,
And so all y'all had was each other.
it was like, okay, well, let's be friends because we don't have anybody else to hang out with. And so from there, we built like a true friendship and got to know each other, and we had lots of conversation. And then I discovered that I was starting to like him, and I was mad about it because that was weird.
Why are you mad
It's
that you
like, I don't want to like Roy. It's Roy. Why? But
I don't know if that's supposed to be offensive. I'm still processing
but
that.
through getting to know him and discovering things about his personality, I was like, oh, he's actually pretty awesome, and I can't not like him. I don't want to like him, but I do.
So
yeah.
who made the first move as far as like
She told me that she
Me.
wanted to spend the rest of her life with me.
I didn't say it in those words.
That very summer.
Wow.
It was later on in that summer, but it wasn't like right away.
2 months later.
I think I've had some very interesting relationship experiences prior to that, and so I learned very quickly to be aware of my feelings and what I was thinking, and not unexpectedly fall for someone and be in too deep before I realize that they don't feel the same way.
Sure.
And so, and I know that when I fall for someone, like I
It's for
fall
real.
pretty hard. And so I think those are the words I said. I was like, look, I like you. I am falling for you. And when I fall for someone, I fall hard. So if this is not going anywhere, we need to just
So you gave him
Stop.
an ultimatum.
yes.
And she did mention that she was in the military, right? She also, I don't know if she mentioned, you know, what I mean, she's done some real odd job in the military. She was driving convoys. You know, I know she can operate several different, deadly weapons. So I after she said it like that, it was a moment of reflection for me.
It's like
I wouldn't have killed you.
I wouldn't have killed you. They would have found your body, but I wouldn't have killed you.
Killed you.
Maybe maimed.
Or,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow. No, but I think it was, we grew from just a peripheral relationship to knowing each other in a personal way during that summer. And you communicated what you did to me, which caused me to reflect, because in my mind, we were growing to know each other, but it made me have to make a determination. What is this and where we're going? Still didn't have an answer that summer. Or
He didn't say anything.
I didn't
he
think.
He thought about it for weeks, and then he left Harrisonburg and went to camp. He did
What
the
camp?
summer's best 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
camp.
okay. Did we go together?
No, it was the year after you went.
Oh,
This
okay,
one
okay, I
was
got you.
what- That one would have been 2010.
2010, yeah.
So he left and went to camp for several weeks, still having not addressed what I said.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, think about it.
yeah.
Roy, what are you doing?
Roy is a very internal processor. I'm not, and so, but he likes to take his time to think about things. Part of that intentionality, he doesn't want to say something that he
Right.
doesn't mean.
Right.
And when he makes a decision, you can know that it's well thought about, very well
So when did you give the answer?
thought about.
2 years later when I proposed.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah,
And a lot of life in between.
A lot happened in between that, and I completely went against everything that I had decided about how I would do relationships, and I still allowed our limbo land relationship to continue because I was like, well, maybe his actions are speaking louder than his words.
Right.
He's still staying around, and
Right,
so maybe that's him saying that he wants this to be a thing. And so though he didn't say yes, I am on board, I was like, well, we'll just see.
Right.
Good thing this time it worked.
I think transitioning from undergrad into like adult life, what I mean, it's pretty pivotal for all of us who've gone through it. What I mean, but I think I knew that whatever course or that I embark on career wise, family wise, what I mean, that was going to be it. What I mean, so I think I had to spend some time in that space, trying to discover what trajectory I wanted to go in. I knew that you and I's relationship was unique. It was different. It was challenging, and I knew that. Well, I know I wasn't walking away. So I was, but I didn't necessarily know that for me, I grew up. I know that in high school people do, boyfriend girlfriend relationships and this, that, and the other. I didn't do that. It's not to say I didn't make any other silly mistakes, because that's far from the truth. But I think when a person makes a decision in a committed relationship, and that to me that has a lot of weight and substance. So I didn't want to say yes, this is it, and then ended up saying no, it's not.
Right.
Later on, so it just took me a while. So I was willing to say let's be friends and figure out if this is where we're going. Then say, yeah, let's do this, and then a couple months down the line, be like, yeah, let's not do this.
So you proposed when?
In 2012, in April 8th, 2012.
My
And when'd
birthday,
y'all get
which
married?
was also Easter.
Oh,
that
why
year.
they keep changing Easter date every
I know.
single year?
I'm like,
Oh
can
my
I
gosh!
just stay
So-
in one spot?
So we were studying that, and I've always thought that Easter has something to do with like a Jewish holiday in terms of when it changed.
Mhm.
It actually has something to do with the moon.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy? We just
What-
read
what
that
about
this
the moon?
week.
they change it every
It-
year?
It has, yes,
Who changes it?
every year. It follows a lunar calendar.
Oh.
And so that's why, years back it was actually in March. I don't know if you remember, but it used to be at the end of March. Sometimes it's at the end of March. And this year
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
April 12th or something. And last year was April 20th. So,
So that could be a month gap in between. where Easter
That's
is?
crazy.
it's usually like around, I think, a 3-week period where it can happen because of something with the moon.
Mm.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. Has nothing to do with like Good Friday or the
Christianity
Passover
in
or
general.
Christian.
Mhm.
When it falls is dependent on the moon. That's
Well,
at
look,
least what we read.
Mr. Scientists and calendar makers, I need for y'all to set up Easter to be around a good vacation holiday time, so we can, be on vacation
There you
if
go.
you listening.
Mainly in April when it's a little warmer.
Right.
You know,
If
don't
you
do
want to
the
set it
March.
up to be July 3rd,
There you
you know
go.
what I'm saying? So on July 4th,
The moon slide out a little bit.
just a little bit. So we
No.
celebrate the resurrection the day before and then
No.
fireworks the next day. I'm trying to help the government out right now.
No, I like it being in April because or in March, because after Christmas you don't have a holiday. Unless you're like a government employee or a bank employee, you don't have an actual day off. So having it in April gives us a little bit of a break, or
Yeah,
having
in
it in
between,
March.
yeah.
So I would never want it right back to another holiday, because then I'd have to wait from December to July.
Yeah.
We just made a crazy hardcore transition. We straight
That was a
like
squirrel.
tangent everywhere. So you proposed in
April of
2012.
2012, yeah.
And we got married in September of 2012.
Oh, y'all ain't waste no time.
Listen, I
Oh,
told you I
wow.
spent 2 years thinking about it, because once I made a decision, it was time.
That's how I feel. I'm like, what's the purpose of long engagements?
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
was a
trying to
setup.
judge nobody. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But I'm like, if I know I'm gonna marry you, let's just make it happen. Now, some people are strategic. They want to put the down payment down, and knowing that they can't get it out of layaway until later, which I understand. I'm not trying to equivalate marriage to a payment. Equivalate, is that?
I don't think
think
that's in
that's
the
a word.
dictionary.
Y'all know what I'm saying, though. I'm not trying to equalize.
That's
I'm not trying to compare it to a payment plan that you got at Walmart. But I feel you. Okay, so y'all got married in September, so of 2012. So this upcoming September, y'all would have been married. Y'all be married for 8 years.
Years, yep.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So tell us a little bit about your family dynamic now. Like, so
Uh-huh.
you're married 8 years, children?
Yes. So all the children.
All the
We got a lot
children.
of kids, y'all. We have Josie.
Well, you
I know.
what makes kids come. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
You know,
I think
So
I learned
you
that
have
in ninth grade.
kids. You have so we've established you have a lot of kids. You have Josie.
so,
Go ahead.
Yeah, Josie, Josephina, but we call her Josie, and she is 5. Briella is 4. So they were born October 2014 and October 2015. And then we had a little bit of a gap. And then we had Anna, and Anna is 8 months now. And then we're also currently expecting our little surprise baby. And we are due April 23rd. Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
Around
it
your
was that
birthday.
soon.
Yes. So
That's
I'm
crazy.
Like, typically, all of our kids have come about a week and a half to 2 weeks before my due date. And 2 weeks before my due date is like the day after my birthday. And I'm like, okay, little one.
Is that a good thing
I
or
want
a
my
bad thing?
day. No.
She just doesn't want
I
a
don't want
day.
to share my
She
day.
wants the whole month.
I
So
want-
this
Right.
is going to be a violation
I know.
somewhere, but it's
I'm
okay.
just like, all right. So I've accepted that the child is coming in April. I just need it to be,
Not on the
a
8th.
week from my birthday at least.
Wow.
You still have Mother's Day, right?
Yeah, but my
May.
birthday.
I know, but I'm saying
I
like,
know.
And I think Mother's Day is around Anna's birthday. Anna was born in
Oh.
May.
never
Anna's
mind.
May 15,
Yeah,
so she
so-
won't be 1 yet when this baby comes. She'll be 11 months.
So it's a surprise for Britney.
Oh, she's not laughing, guys.
This
But I just want to reflect on the fact that Josie is 5, Briella is 4, Anna right now is 8 months, and her sister, they're going to be 11 months apart, as Josie and Briella were 12 months apart. To me, that makes a whole lot of sense, to have them right back to back. But I didn't really. So I think while it was a surprise to Britney, I think it was sovereignly planned by the Lord.
Look,
And I participated.
I know. Hey, Brittany, he changed the plans on you, and he didn't let you know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was like praying that would happen. And he had joked about it. And I was like, no, absolutely not. This is not the timing. And so I'm guessing that the Lord is more on his side, which I don't know how I feel about that. I'm like, but I feel like I should have a say.
There you go.
be
Baby should be
honest.
born in 2s, I think.
okay.
Just a little bit of a say.
So
So you want twins?
for that?
The Irish twins, not real twins.
Okay.
They'll be
'Cause
Irish
he said baby should be born in 2s. I said, so would you
Oh,
want twins?
got
Oh,
you,
no,
got
after
you.
this we're done. I think
That's
she's fixing
why-
me.
Like y'all done having kids
Yeah,
after
yeah,
this?
yeah. I think she might have all but scheduled my appointment to see my physician
Hey.
about a problem.
We definitely using that clip right there. That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am hoping that the Lord is saying it's finished.
No more.
Yeah.
That is.
I think just we're limited in our capacity. We want to serve our kids well, and so at least to the degree in which we understand right now, we can't see us having enough capacity to serve more kids than what we have right now, especially because God has also given us the privilege to help steward the lives of our nephews and our niece, and so I think we just want to be at a place where we have both physical and spiritual energy to serve all the kids that God gives us privilege to serve.
Yeah, our nephew Dunstan, he's now 18. He's been with us since, was he 14?
Yeah, his freshman year.
Yeah. What was his freshman year in high school? He
Oh,
came to
wow.
stay with us, and he's now a senior about to graduate in May. And I'm like, what? Like, how did this even happen? How did we get here this this
Right
quickly?
before your eyes.
Yeah, so I'm just like, all right. But yeah, so that's our teenager.
And you said a niece also?
And then, so yeah, right now, my older sister is staying with us for a little bit. And so my niece and nephew are here with us as well. And so my nephew
full
is,
house.
oh yeah. My nephew is 13. My niece just turned 12. And so we have a 8-month-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, and an 18-year-old.
And soon a
in the
newborn.
house, and soon a newborn. And so, and then Roy, my sister, and I. And so,
There are 10 people. 10 human beings in the house.
The crazy thing is you mentioned that you believe you have the capacity right now, but I would almost imagine that when it was just your family, you had that same thought. And then
That's
it
true.
expanded exponentially
That's true.
because you got 3 at
That's true.
one
That's true.
in one get, so I imagine that if if God were to bless you with another one, your heart would just grow that much more in your space.
Yeah.
So,
I
and
do
then I
trust
mean,
that
you
for
know, you
sure,
can make
but-
it to.
Lay hands.
You
Lay
know you
hands.
can.
Let us talk.
You know you can make it to at least 10 in the house.
All right, she's ready to walk out the set.
So Bree is your oldest.
Josie is
Josie.
Yeah, she's
Josie
the
is our oldest, oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Josie and Briella always talk about their older brother.
Older brother.
Their older brother, Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
If they were here, they would be the first to announce him.
Mm-hmm.
Corbin, I'll let you tell Corbin's story.
Yeah, so it's a long story, I feel like, because you got to kind of go back to that period
That
of time where we
2-year
were
gap of
dating,
reflecting.
that gap before Roy decided that he wanted to make me his forever
Oh,
lady, forever your lady.
Wow. I don't know that song.
it's like a dream.
And
Wow.
I'm holding you.
I don't
close,
think y'all know that song
keeping
either.
you warm.
Brittany got her song in,
She did. I said no song, and you sang anyway,
and you joined her.
and I joined in. You baited me.
That's funny.
So during that, so remember I said that I had kind of let my guard down and allowed our friendship to kind of be what it was. For me, it was a relationship. For him, it was a friendship. But I was like, but I had no other friends like me. But I was like, I'm gonna let him call it what it call it. It is what it is, though. But during that time, we had gotten to a point in it where I was like, you know what? This isn't going to work. Like, this isn't going to work. We can't continue to be in this place where I think it's one thing, you think it's another thing. We're not intentionally moving towards like lifetime partnership. And so I don't want to do this anymore. We can't. And I feel like I'm holding you back from doing the things that you want to do. Because for me, I'm like, we're in this thing. And if you're not there, I don't want you to feel stuck or obligated just because of what I'm thinking or feeling. And so we were ending our relationship and our friendship and all things communication. It was done. Roy had accepted a job to move to DC. You were what was that city year? So it was a at least 2-year program where you move and you do this program and you're teaching and then they place you somewhere else. Like he was gone. And he got his acceptance letter from that and was planning his move to DC. And then I found out that I was pregnant. And that was very interesting. That was, to say the least, because I'm like...
It was not immaculate conception. By a long shot.
You know how babies come
I
about,
do know
right?
how babies come about. You know, sometimes when you say we were Christians, but sometimes when you get some relationships, you know, if you sit a little too close, you realize it's the next day, and I'm still here. Okay, all right, you know.
Anyway, moving right along.
Okay, yeah, listen, man, it might help somebody. You know, if you don't know yet, you might just need to stay sober. You just don't hang out as long.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, because after that, you know, God might bless something. And say, what you gonna do now?
So anyway, but yeah, so I found out I was pregnant, and so I've been known to be a little extra sometimes, and so
small bit.
I went to where he was working at that time, and
She rolled up to you on your job.
At the job.
and
Go ahead and tell that story.
so I did go there. In the office where he worked, there's a bathroom in the back, and at that point I was pretty sure that I was pregnant. Like I was pretty sure, but I had went and bought a test, and so I was like, and we had also decided that we're not gonna do this anymore. All of this, he had his acceptance letter. All of these things are already in place, and I was like, I'm going to the bathroom, and so I'm like. You said like you were there.
I did. I was back in the story.
Oh, so
I
y'all was having a conversation,
Uh-huh.
and then you were like, "All
going
right,
to the
I'm going to the bathroom
bathroom.
real quick. I got something
At
for
his
you.
desk. So he's at
Let
the
me
desk.
come back real quick."
The desk. Oh my gosh, I'm so petty. Anyway, I take the test. I don't even think the full like 2-3 minutes passed. The lines show up.
Oh, you was pregnant.
I was pregnant. And I went back. Oh, that's so gross. I tossed the stick on the desk.
I got pee on it,
None of
Britnie.
this is an exaggeration. It was all true.
Tossed the stick on the desk, and I was like, I just looked at him, and he was like, what is this? And I think I gave him the box so that he could read the directions so that he could see that it lined up with the fact that this is positive. And then I'm pretty sure I was like, so what you gonna do? And
Another ultimatum.
and right, and I'm pretty sure he was quiet. And I think it was that conversation too where I was like, well, I'm not expecting anything from you. If you want visitation with your child,
She
that's
went like
fine.
that.
You
But
already planned out the whole.
Gangster. I mean, it was just straight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
I mean,
gonna
at
have
this
these
point,
court
I'm
papers
like,
coming at
she
you in a little
was
bit.
done.
Right?
What you're not gonna do is get me no sympathy relationship
There
at
you
this
go.
point. Like, so I was like, you don't have to say you can still go to city year, and I wouldn't, not let you be a part of your child's life, but I'm not expecting anything from you. And so, yeah, I think
For me, well, of course that's pretty
probably in
dramatic.
shock.
You know, so I'm in shock. I'm looking at this
how
test.
did that happen?
No, not that type of shock. I'm pretty sure. I think I'm in shock. Like, this is dramatic. I didn't know she was this dramatic. Yes, I did. I knew she was that dramatic. So I'm looking at the test, and I know this is what I know. I know that it's God that gives life. You know what I mean? I told you, we're Christians, and that part wasn't changed. And 2010 was a pretty pivotal time in my life where I understood the gospel for the first time. I made a decision to follow Jesus. Along that process, God has been sanctifying me, but there was a journey through that. I realized, in that moment that it's only God can give life. While this is not the setting that he's designed, but he's given life, and so I know there was something to be discovered. I think if nothing else, I was supposed to pause and say, what am I supposed to do next? So if you allow this, maybe not your perfect plan, but you allow this to happen, there's something for me to respond to. So I had, there wasn't much to say other than recognizing what things are true. She was pregnant with a child. Children are given as gifts from the Lord, regardless of what situation it comes out of. So I think it was that moment. It didn't necessarily feel like a gift, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? It felt like, I don't know. I mean, there was so many different emotions. We were making a decision that we were going to discontinue the romantic aspect of our relationship. We were going to be in different parts of the state. And so here it is that no, this wasn't going to be the case. Even though a romantic relationship wasn't necessarily warranted, but I think there was something more than that. When a child is in between two people, regardless of where you are, there's something. It's a life that connects you. So I think we had to pause there for a second. So there was a whole lot to think about.
Did you guys at one time think about not having the baby?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that was not an option.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I did think about, though I knew who Roy was, and I knew his character, and I knew that it was a very slim chance that he would go away and abandon us and not want to be a part of the child's life. But I probably would have had accepted that thought before I would have gotten to the we're not going to have this baby thought.
So I'm pretty sure if between y'all two had made the decision that y'all weren't going to be in a relationship, your friends and family knew that y'all weren't going to be in a relationship. So how did they respond to the news when y'all came out and tell them, hey, just playing, we going to stay?
So our parents, I think, responded very differently. So I told my mom through G-Chat.
Britnie.
At that time, I was, how old was I, 23? 22.
I don't even think that much. I'm fresh out of school. So 22.
22.
Old as possible, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and I had gotten the job at Rosetta Stone, so I was working in the HR department, and me and my mom chatted all the time. So like, still to this day, we talk on the phone like maybe 3-4 times a day. But at that point, the job that she was at and the job I was at, we would chat all the time. And so we were chatting, and I was like, hey, so, if I had something to tell you, do you care the way that I tell you? Would you rather would you rather it be in person? Would you rather me call you? Should I chat it? Like, if I have something very important or serious to tell you, how should I, like, do you have a preference? And she was like, no, as long as you tell me, I don't care how you tell me. So I sent her a picture of bread inside of an oven. I think I still have this chat saved.
That's
on my
crazy.
Computer. But I sent her this picture of bread inside an oven, and she was like, "Okay, so are you baking bread?" And I was like, "Okay, something like that." And she was like, "Okay, well, is it white bread or wheat bread?" And then I was like,
it's brown bread.
I was like, it's wheat. And then it was a few minutes, and then she was like, Lord, my baby done gone and got pregnant with some chocolate wheat bread. And so she definitely accepted the news well. And so after that, because I am very big on or at least it used to be a lot worse, but I'm very much the people pleasing type. Like, I don't want to disappoint people. I want to make sure that I am the best representation of whoever I am representing and living up to everyone's expectation, which is unrealistic. But that's just who I was, the performer, Britnie. And so to deliver this news knowing, okay, I'm not married, I'm not even in a relationship. This dude is not my boyfriend anymore, even though my mom adored Roy, like absolutely adored Roy. But she was like, honey, at this point, you've got a full-time job. You've graduated college. You are, living on your own. You pay your own bills. The situation could be a lot worse. So I think that you'll be fine. And so I think that helped me for sure in that situation, to know that my mom was very much in my corner and was not disappointed, even though I know that any parent has desires for their kid and they want them to have the best possible scenario. But but she didn't show to me any type of disappointment. She was supportive from the very, very beginning. And so yeah, it wasn't a bad experience telling my parents.
What about you, Roy?
My parents, I texted my mom.
I
did. I didn't even know my mom could
Nobody
text.
took the common courtesy to call their parents.
No.
That's some big news.
But Roy waited
nervous.
to the point where I was like, you're going to have to tell your parent, like, you need to say something to them.
Right.
Like, it's been a while. At this point, I mean,
Yeah.
it had
Hold
been
on, what's
few
a
months.
while, Roy? Because we knew,
a couple months.
took you.
It had
couple
been a few
months.
months,
Okay,
yeah.
Well, generally that's when people tell anyway, because they try to make it through the first trimester.
Are
No,
you
that's-
are you
it
saying it was
wasn't
a
the
few months after you told your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So,
I told my
wait.
mom pretty early on. I would have been just weeks when I told my mom.
Right.
But it was still like a few months after that we easily were at least 4 months.
Probably. I think it was. It was.
Like, we had friends that knew at that point.
That's true. I think my parents had emphasized all my life, this idea of committing to a person, before, being in a venture where you're having kids with them. That it is unfair to children for parents to be uncommitted to each other. It makes it very difficult for them.
Yeah.
And so they had always told us that from like as early as I can remember where we can comprehend the idea of having kids. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right,
So
right.
they've said that to us, just so we can be aware of it. And I think it was difficult to communicate that Brittany was having a child, especially because I hadn't expressed to them that I was in a committed relationship. So I didn't really know how to tell that to them. If it's something that they have overtly communicated to me and do their best to model themselves, and to know that wasn't going to be the case, at least the way it was right now. This is talking back then. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to say it. So at some point, I was walking. I remember walking somewhere, because walking is a thing that I do from time to time. And I was like, I just
like an hour or two, maybe
all right.
more.
I was just walking. I was like, I gotta tell him. And so, and so I text so I won't back out. Right? I was like,
you can't back out of that.
Right?
Yeah.
But let me just send this message while I'm right here, while I'm making this decision. Because if I wait, because I'm gonna sit right in front of him, like, nah, I ain't gonna tell him. So I sent the text message. And I didn't hear anything back, for a while. My sister was with my mom
Your sister that called.
at the mall or something. She said my mom almost passed out.
Are you serious?
She said your mom screamed
Right.
and then fell to the floor in
And,
the store.
Right.
Now, is this a scream of excitement
No.
or?
No.
Like, oh Lord, my son done did it. I done told him and he done did it. Like, you know what I mean? So it was so my sister's like, something's wrong with me. So she's taking the phone and she read the text message and she's trying to get my mom off the floor. And then my sister called me like, why would you text her that? So yeah, it was that moment. I think, they had to wrestle with that fact too. I think eventually they come to terms, again, we realize that although situation is not ideal, but we can't deny the fact that there's life, and from our faith perspective, life is given as a gift, and whether it feels like it or not. So then there's always a response to, what are you going to do, and so they were like, okay, let's figure out something.
Your mom also was like, she didn't know her son knew how to do that.
Oh Lord.
And
Are
I
you
was
serious?
like,
First of all,
you think I did that?
oh,
sorry.
she tried to play the blame game?
Well, not the blame.
Like you
game,
seduced him or something like that?
but
She,
like, she
they
didn't
raised
know her
they raised
sweet-
me up,
Her sweet little
as a.
innocent boy knew how to make a baby. I was like, oh honey.
Listen, man. Listen, my
was
mom
like,
might look
okay.
at my mom might look at this. Don't be
One
talking.
day, I'm like,
But yeah, so I think it was shocking because, again, I mean, they're committed Jesus followers, and they raised us up, to do the same. So when I got to college, and I discovered some liberties, and then I discovered that, man, I can't stop these liberties, you know what I mean? So I think for them, it's, for any parent, when you send your kid off to school, like, well, hopefully they can continue whatever pattern of reverence I've set them up with. That was not the case. So that was there for, like, he done got somebody pregnant.
they didn't have any other
They didn't have any other
moments before
feel
that.
it, so-
Any run-ins with any type of similar situation.
Yeah.
for
Oh, so
him.
your brother hadn't had any
well
kids?
for him.
for me.
Oh, for you.
For me.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
okay. That you bring up another point. I think part of the reason too, while they'd emphasized that over and over again for us, and my brother, when he was transitioning from high school to college, he had his my oldest nephew. You know what I mean? So that was a moment, and that was like a struggle, but and they were trying to figure out. It was a situation where, again, a baby was being had, parents weren't really committed to each other,
Sure.
and it made it really, really difficult, for everybody involved, including my nephew. I mean, he and I have processed through some of the stuff.
Hey, this is the same nephew that's living with
That's
you.
living with us right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right,
It makes
what I
sense.
mean? So,
I thought he was like your play nephew, like he's like your cousin. You know what I'm
Nah,
saying?
He is
But no, he's like legit
he's
your.
the oldest grandchild. He was born when I was 14.
Okay, I got you.
So it was so it was part of my brother. So my brother had that, and my brother even after the fact was like, yo, we should listen type situation. So it was. So I not only heard it, I'd seen it, and then I did the same thing.
Mm.
So that's why it was kind of it was a shocker for all of them. Yeah.
So, progression in the story, what were there any complications along the way, health wise, for the baby and for you at the same time?
Yeah. So for the most part, it was probably the most pleasant pregnancy. Like, I felt great. The baby was doing fine, growing fine. I was doing all the things. I was excited. I think we got to a good place in our friendship. We still didn't decide to be in a relationship at that point, but we did decide that we were going to still intentionally be friends and be in each other's lives. Roy came with me to doctor's appointments. We, planned for the baby together. We did all of that. And even at that point, I think it was that summer where I got more involved, or probably the most involved I'd ever been in the college ministry that was here in Durag that summer. And so all the people that were here and involved in that Bible study that summer knew the baby. Like, when we found out we were having a boy and picked the name, like, I remember Chris would, every single time I would see him, he would like dap my stomach up.
That's a Chris move, Roy, right there. Yeah,
every single time. And so I think everybody had like kind of embraced this, like this was everybody's baby. And so everything was great until like moving towards so once I got my third trimester, my blood pressure started to creep up, and I've never had any issues with blood pressure. I've never had high blood pressure before. And I told my midwife that I couldn't do that. I was like, I absolutely cannot go through these hours and this process of laboring. And they were like, well, we can make you comfortable. We can give you the epidural right away. But I'm like, we're not going to prolong this for hours and have me go through all of these motions to have a baby that I know is already not living anymore.